immigration reform bill in the U.S. Senate, and right about now we have more immigration updates for you sa ating American Dream.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Attorney Richard Lowe is joining us today to talk to us about immigration and marriage. A lot of people think that you have to have your U.S. citizenship before you can get married because it's easier to petition a spouse that way. Is that true?
Well, it certainly is easier to be a U.S. citizen and petition your spouse, but I don't think that that's any reason to wait to get married.
Yeah. Some people are asking, so misconceptions about green cards and marriage. When should people get married?
Well, you know, I'm an immigration attorney. I don't really know people's individual lives.
Yeah.
That's
as
something.
far as immigration is concerned, yeah.
Right, and,
okay.
and my answer is always, you know, that's between you and your husband or you and your wife as to when you want to get married. The immigration side will work itself out. I don't think you should certainly delay getting married because your spouse or potential spouse is only a permanent resident and not yet a U.S. citizen. I don't think there's any real reason to wait in that instance to get married.
Second question, will my permanent resident spouse have any problems when applying for naturalization if there's a pending petition for a spouse?
You know, I think what happens is sort of like guilt by association, that because my spouse is out of status, somehow that reflects poorly on me, and maybe that's going to have some impact on my citizenship. But that's really not the case. Immigration is really not interested in punishing you for marrying an undocumented person or somebody who is not yet has a status. So I think that's not a reason to be worried about petitioning for somebody or getting married to somebody.
Okay, what about visa petition? When can you proceed? Like after you get married, the day after? How soon after can you file that petition?
Well, you can certainly file the petition immediately, as soon as you're married, and I think it's beneficial in most times to do that, but it is a case-by-case situation. People who are here in the United States legally, that is, they have entered in on a B-2 or they're still on an H-1 or some other manner, that F-2A petition from their spouse, that can go forward immediately.
Okay.
But if you're out of status, then you're going to need some other help in order to adjust your status. And so when to file that petition may be an individual question. Also, some people have prior removals.
Right.
Some people have other issues that filing a petition doesn't necessarily cure or provide you a clear avenue in which you're going to proceed forward.
And from what I understand, let's say work visa has a cap, and there is a certain period where immigration officers accept application for visa. What about for the petition for a spouse? Is there a limit to that? Plus, are there months when you can apply? Do they open? Do they close it?
It's not exactly like the H-1B's program, but what it is obviously there are preference categories and there are a number of visas available, and they just sort of prioritize that by filing date. So for right now, the visa category for the F-2A category, which would be a married spouse, is actually shortening. So right now we're about October 2011 for the July visa bulletin, and the Department of State has said that they believe that category may become current in the next few months. So that is
So it's moving fast.
So it's moving fast.
Yes.
And also this is a category that they're talking about in the new immigration reform as to making this an immediate relative category so that there would be no backup in that category.
And speaking of moving fast and the movement, how soon after you file the petition will the spouse get a work permit or advance parole for travel document?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I think one of the things that people think is like, well, I've married a permanent resident, they filed a petition for me, so now I can get a work permit. But that's not really the case. Even if the petition gets approved, you still first need to have the priority date current, and second, you have to have a means to be able to adjust your status here in the United States. So if you're not 245I eligible, for example, or if you're out of status, then that's not something that you're going to be able to do immediately until either that person becomes a U.S. citizen or you have some other avenue to pursue.
All right, 2 points that I'm getting here. You don't need to wait to get your citizenship if you want to get married and petition your spouse. And then the second thing is it's still a little bit complicated, but thank you for explaining it to us, although there's so many things that we still need to understand, and it's always a case-by-case basis. You need a lawyer to explain your opportunities and a lot of different ways for you. That's the information on the screen. Schedule your appointment now. Thank you. More power to you.
Thank you.
Entertainment Report when we return. Don't go away.